Welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Matt Bear. I'm the founder of Q4Launch, and we are excited to bring you a different kind of webinar today. We are going to dive into 5 growth strategies from a 2-time Inc. 5000 winning company, which if you didn't catch this, that's our story. So we're excited to share with you guys a little bit about our story today in a way that shares some of the things that work for us from a growth perspective. I know we have a lot of our customers registered for today's webinar, a lot of people that follow us through our speaking on today's webinar as well. And I say it's a different kind of webinar because we usually teach a very how-to type webinar. And today would be a little bit of a break from that in the sense that, honestly, I feel like there's probably more wisdom packed into today's webinar than any webinar I've ever taught before, or any conference session I've ever taught before, but it's not as how-to. So it's not as prescriptive, I guess. So you're going to have to take it, you're going to have to unpack it, you're going to spend some time reflecting on it, and then apply that to your business. And I'm going to try to help you make some of those applications as well as we move throughout to help you see how things that we're sharing today might be things that and are things that you can apply into your business, and we'll share some ideas around how to do that. But it's going to be a little bit different than our usual hour we spend together. I hope that you learn a lot from today. I mean, that's my desire. We have a lot of people ask us these questions. The Inc. 5000 list just came out again. Mid to late August, so we're having a lot of those conversations now, both with publications and various other things, kind of wanting to hear our story. And a lot of our customers have asked, a little bit about it as well, and they've been such a vital role, or played such a vital role in that journey that we want to be able to share that with them and with the marketplace, and honestly just share some of the things we're learning. We don't have this all figured out. We're learning, we're making mistakes along the way, and trying to get better every day as we learn those things. And this is a celebration of things we've learned, celebration of our customers that have trusted us to do so much of what we do for them. And then I hope you're able to learn a lot as a general manager, as an entrepreneur, as a vacational manager, as an innkeeper, as a hotelier, whatever role you sit in your business. I hope you learn a lot from today's webinar and can apply these things. And hopefully it doesn't come across at all as too self-congratulatory. As we talked about this as a team, that was my fear, is that something that's important to us is not to be that way. And in telling our story, that was one of my fears, that people were like, oh, geez, you're just patting yourself on the back. But that is not at all what today is about. This isn't really about us. This is about what our customers have allowed us to do, and a little bit about how we think about things. And I think there's a lot you can apply from that into your business. And I know there's a lot we are learning from you guys as well, from our customers, from the questions that those of you who attend our webinar series regularly ask. So I'm excited to jump in and talk about some of these things as we move throughout our time together today, which, as I said, will be very different than normal, just with the content that we're talking about. But I think what we're going to learn here is really going to be something that you can connect into and apply into finding ways to grow your own business. And that's what we want. That's what we want to help our customers do. We want to help them grow their business and spend less time doing the things that they're not personally great at, so they can spend more time focused on things they are great at. Which, as I say, that in and of itself is a growth strategy. Spend your time where only you can spend it, where you're the absolute best you can be. That's not one of the 5 we're going to talk about today. That's an important growth lesson that I've learned along the way as an entrepreneur and founder, and I'm sure many of you have as well. Many of you, that's probably what's led you to hire us. So you can do that. So with that, let's dive in. You've got a little bit of information on the screen, and you may have already seen some of this. If you follow us on Facebook, you saw the announcement. If you follow Inc. Magazine, you would have seen it as well. But the announcement that we were the 1,633rd fastest growing company in America this year, which was super exciting for us. Last year, we were number 940 fastest growing company. That measures growth over the last 3 years. So people are like, wow, I've had people tell me, wow, I didn't know you guys grew that much in the last year. And I'm like, well, that's actually the last 3 years. I've also had people say, oh, we don't want you to grow too fast. And I'm like, well, the growth that you're seeing us being recognized for is actually all in the past. It has nothing to do with what's actually happening in 2018, that's measured on what happened from 2014 through 2017. So the experience that you got from us from 2014 to 2017 is the experience that you got during the midst of this growth. Has nothing to do with what's going on today. Now, I'm excited to say we're growing again this year, and that's exciting. But that concern that some people have had, like, well, I don't want you guys to grow too much, to me, I think it's the mark of a great company is how they handle those things. And we've grown at a very intentional pace and throttled that back at times where we've needed to support being a great partner for our customers. So if you've been with us as a customer through any of that stretch, you've already experienced this growth, and the level of service we provided in the midst of it is hopefully the level of service that brought you to us and that has kept you on board with us as a customer, and hopefully that's something in and of itself to celebrate. So don't want anybody to be feared that we're growing too fast or that this is something that's new. This started back in, honestly, 2013 and has been a journey over about the last 5 years to get where we are today. For those of you that don't know, we've gone from 3 employees to 45 employees in about the last 4 years. So it's been a lot of training, a lot of very intentional time, a lot of very focused effort. But the Q4 launch that you know today has come through all of that journey, and hopefully we've done that well for you. Like I said, I know we make mistakes along the way. We appreciate your grace when we do make mistakes and work together to be the best that we can be and to get better every day. So that's a little bit about where we've been. Obviously, this is Inc. Well, maybe not obviously. Maybe you're not familiar with it. But Inc. measures that as a percentage growth. And as the numbers get bigger, percentages get harder, right? That's the way they work. So that's always very challenging. But we're very excited, very blessed to be on the list for the 2nd year in a row. And something I didn't really realize, but some of the information that they sent over to us, only 1 in 18,000 companies ever makes it on the Inc. 5000 list. 1 in 18,000 companies started in America ever gets there in the first place. And of the people that get on the list, only 1 in 3 companies that make the list actually get back on the list a second time. So a lot of people do it once, very, very few people, not a lot, but a few people do it. 5,000 people do it once every year, I guess, but less than that are able to do that a 2nd year in a row. So we're excited, we're blessed by that, and humbled by that to be part of that journey. So with all that, that's probably the longest intro I've ever given to a webinar, but I hope that was helpful for you guys. I think some of that's, stemming out of me just, trying to quantify a lot of things and just say, this isn't a humble brag. This is what mistakes have we made and what can you learn from us as you're trying to grow your own business. So with all those caveats put behind us, a little bit of that story, let's dive into our 5 growth strategies that have led to so much of the growth and success that we've seen, and hopefully the growth and success that we're helping you create inside of your business. If you're one of our customers, and if you're not, you're one of our followers and you come and learn from us, that's awesome. Hopefully things we're sharing help you do the same thing as you're trying to do those things on your own. All right. Here we go. All right. Number 1, live by your core values. About 3 years ago, probably, we sat down as a team and spent quite a bit of time really talking through and developing our core values. And you can see them there on your screen. They're something we talk about a lot as a company. There's something you see in a lot of our staff's email signatures. Many of you have actually participated in our nomination process where you can nominate one of our employees for living out our core values and their interactions with you. You can find more information about that on our website or in my personal email signature if you want to find out more about that. You can see the 12 core values on the screen there. And if you've interacted with us, hopefully you've experienced many of these core values and can think about things that do that. But this has been so vital for us and honestly has led to sustainable growth and doing growth well. I talked a little bit a few minutes ago about companies that don't do growth well create hesitation sometimes from customers that they don't want to see companies grow because they've been burned by somebody who didn't do it well. For me, on that journey, as we talked about that risk of growth, the risk that growth creates in not doing it well, establishing our core values was something that enabled us to hopefully do growth well and to do it better than otherwise somebody might be able to. So as you guys are on this journey, whether you're in a place of growth or you're in a place of my business is in a great place and I'm just sustaining it here, which is an awesome place to be as well, wherever you are on that journey, I would highly encourage you to establish and live by your core values. There's so much that goes into developing these things, but they tell a story to the marketplace in so many different ways. They say what you stand for. They say what you're willing to die for. And that's one of the things that we talk about with our staff. Like, these are the things we stand for, and these are the hills that we're willing to die on. Meaning that as an employee, as a team member of Q4Launch, you have to live these core values. And if you're not living these core values, we're going to have a problem. And when we say we're willing to die on these hills, these are the values that we make hiring and firing decisions off of. And we look for these values in people throughout the interview process, and it creates common language. You know, as we interact as a team, since we've established these, and these are in multiple places all throughout our office, so that they're really there as a constant reminder for our team. But as we see these things, they have become common language for our staff. And one of the things I love to see in our Monday morning meetings, we share success stories, and I love to see employees recognizing each other for their behavior and the process of living out our core values. And probably even more than that, I love to hear stories from our customers about team members they were interacting with, and they may not use our core values when they describe it, or maybe they will because they've read them before. But it gives us that common language to be able to say, these are the things we stand for, and look at those things within our team members. And 12 is a lot. Like, I've talked to other entrepreneurs, and they're like, you really need to boil it down to like 5 or 7. And they're probably right. But there was just a lot of things we were establishing that were important to us. And it's important to us for us to be able to live these things on a daily basis. And I think that framework allows you to have common conversation, common dialogue, common language or vocabulary, but it also creates a framework for employees to make decisions. If they know that our core value is to get better every day, it tells them what that expectation is for them, and it helps them understand how to make a decision. If they know our core value is to empower team members to delight, they know what that means as they live out their relationship with the customers that they're servicing. If they know our core value is to play to win together, they know what the expectation is, and that's internally and externally. We need to play to win together as a team. We also need to play to win together with our customers. We try to break down that us versus them mentality that can sometimes exist in what I consider toxic company cultures. Us versus them that can exist within teams, and teams might feel that way, but also us versus them that might exist between us and the partners that we have, the vendors that we do business with. We try to think about everybody in our sphere of influence, or our sphere of care, our circle of care, and say we have a responsibility to do business well with those people, to celebrate success with those people, to help our customers make data-driven decisions. Most of our customers, when they come to us, are in the habit of making emotional decisions. We want to help them transition into making data-driven decisions. There's so much packed into this. I mean, do what you say you'll do is the first one. This is probably the most common complaint we hear about our competition and about digital marketing agencies in general is they're full of great ideas, but they don't execute. They don't do what they say they will do. So at a foundational level, that's so important to us. Fast is better than slow. Business is on the line every day. Our opportunity to help us grow our customers' revenue is on the line every day. So fast is better than slow. We have to execute with speed and with a sense of urgency, and that's so important for us. And I think as we've established these and we've tried to live these out, I was actually interacting with one of our customers who actually had fired us and then had gone to another agency and rehired us, came back, went to the other side where the grass was perceptibly greener, and then came back. And on coming back, he sent me an email and he said, Matt, I remember when you guys rolled out your core values. And honestly, at the time, it didn't really mean anything to me. I thought it was just, company speak or corporate speak or marketing speak, whatever. And he's like, but I didn't, because I hadn't had that other agency experience, I didn't realize the way you guys were living out your core values until I experienced what it was like to be with a company that wasn't living out core values. So until I left and saw what it could be like, I didn't understand or appreciate the way your staff lived out your core values in their workings with us. And honestly, of all the conversations I've had about core values, that was probably one of the most meaningful conversations that I've had, because being able to hear that and hear how his interactions with our team, he could see these things being lived out, told me that we were doing growth well and that we were setting ourselves up to continue to be on a journey where we partnered with our customers to achieve their growth. And in doing so, would achieve our growth. And this has been absolutely critical for our growth. It's probably something we need to revisit, maybe pare down from 12, maybe down to 5 to 7. I don't know, but it's been something that's been critical for us. And I would highly encourage you, if you haven't been on that journey yourself, spend some time, go on that journey. Maybe you're a company of 2 people, and you guys, maybe you're a partner team, and or a husband-wife team, and you know exactly your core values. I would still encourage you to sit down and document these things. Maybe you're a company of 1 person, and you're the only person that has to live these things out, and it seems like a waste of time. But as you're facing decisions every day, these will ground you and help root you in what's important. And that's why we chose the gnome to represent our core values. It's that guardian of the treasure. It's that guardian of that secret, that what lies underneath. And that's explained more fully on our website and why we chose that as the mascot of our core values. And I'd encourage you to check that out, and love for you guys to participate in our nomination process. But it's something that's so important to us. Our culture, the way we take care of our customers, the way we take care of our employees, is the treasure that we have. And we have to guard those things well. And these core values allow us to do that well, and to live those things out well. So really encourage you to check that out. Love any feedback you guys have on those, and love to hear what yours are as well. If you've got your own set of core values, love to hear about that via email, via comments on the YouTube channel when we post the video. However you want to share those, we'd love to hear them. On our Facebook page, we'd love to hear about your core values and what they mean to you, as well as maybe one of ours that jumps out at you. Get a lot of laughter around the one, create fun. And all these words are chosen very intentionally. So let y'all do with that what you will. Number 2, know your niche. You know, the panda bear eats one thing, and he eats that one thing all day long. And while I don't want to be, not the panda bear, the koala bear, while I don't want to be a koala bear, I don't want to eat eucalyptus and that's it. I think it's eucalyptus. Somebody fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. You've got to know your niche. And in our journey, what a lot of people don't know is that we're actually 10 years old as a company. And for the first 5 years, we went from 2 people to 3 people. So when I talk about growth, it comes from a place of knowing how not to grow a company, right? Going from 2 people to 3 people from a staff perspective in 5 years is not really that rampant of a growth process. But what we figured out about 5 years ago was that if we didn't really focus into a niche, if we didn't become experts and go deep in a vertical, we can't figure out how to do that really, really well and become experts at that thing. So about 5 years ago, we looked around our customer base and we said, where are we having the most fun? Actually had nothing to do with making the most money, which is often when I say find your niche, people are like, oh, you mean the customers you make the most money? I'm like, no, absolutely not. We had customers we were making a lot of money on, but we're having zero fun. And when if you spend any time studying Maslow's hierarchy of needs, money was pretty far down. Like once we got that foundation and we were out of the place where we were losing money every month, it was no longer about money. It was about having fun and living out core values even before they were established, but making an impact in our customers' business to help them grow their business. And in doing that, we recognized that our customers in the hospitality space were the most fun customers we were working with. It was fun because we were creating success for them. We were freeing them up from having to worry about something they didn't really understand and were tired of trying to figure out how to understand. And we were having a lot of fun doing it. They were successful, we were successful, and the relationships were great. And we said, man, and I remember the conversation because we were profiling one of our customers named Mary. And I looked at we were working with a consultant at the time, and I looked at him and I remember the exact place, the exact time, the exact conversation. And I said, if we had 50 Marys, this would be a lot of fun. And honestly, today we represent about 150 Marys, and we're so humbled to be able to do that every day and live that out every day. But what we did was we figured out our niche, and that created a opportunity to scale in a way we didn't before. We stopped trying to be all things to all people. We stopped going to the local networking groups to meet the next customer. We really defined that ideal customer, that Mary that we profiled, and we spent the next year designing our business around them. So that next year wasn't rampant growth for us. It's been a year trying to figure it out and trying to get people in that space we said we were going to go to trust us. And I remember about the year mark into that journey, I was sitting with another mentor of mine who was in the space, and she was gracious enough to mentor me. And I was so frustrated because I was having so many conversations I felt like were going so well, and nobody was signing the deal. Nobody was trusting us to take that next step and market their business. And I remember looking at her so discouraged, and the only thing I really had to rely back on was the espresso I was drinking. And she looked at me and she said, Matt, you have something that's very, very unique. And it takes people a while to understand that, and it takes them longer to trust that. But once they do, hold on, because you're going to grow at a pace you can't right now understand. And I remember looking at her and I said, I hope you're right, because right now it feels like we're not even going to survive. And that was a challenging time, but both those mentors played very important roles in that journey. But they were both right. We had to stay the course, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes as well, as something that has been paramount for us in accomplishing our growth. But it starts with that. Define your ideal customer and design your business around them. Design your business in a way that makes it easy for them to do business with you. I think that's something that we often forget. You've heard me if you've been on past webinars, I've ragged on I've ragged on companies with policy pages that make it impossible for you to do business with them. They have so many policies that cover every potential scenario that might ever exist. They scare people away from doing business with them. And I think we forget sometimes that we exist and we need to make it easy on people to do business with us, not the other way around. Our job isn't designed to make it easy on us to do business with our customers. It's to make it easy on our customers to do business with us. And that's what designing your business around them looks like. And we continue to do this all the time. And something that happens as you grow, as you bring people in the door that maybe weren't here when you designed those things around your customers. And they might not understand why this is inconvenient for me as an employee. Wouldn't it be better if we did it this way? When in reality, you then have to consistently remind and speak into them, this is designed to make it easy for the customer to do business with us, not make it easy for us to do our job for our customer. One is a us first mentality. The other is a customer first mentality. You've got to keep that customer first mentality. The other thing I would say here, and I'm going to talk about some application on what this looks like for you, but be the best at what makes you unique. Excuse my typo there, but be the best at what makes you unique. Think about that thing. Think about what makes you unique, what makes you special, and be the best at that. We're going to circle back to that one. It's kind of its own standalone thing, but I wanted to talk about it within your niche. One of the things we talk to our customers about more and more every day as we're getting more and more down this road is helping them understand their niche. You know, your niche isn't a vacation rental management company. Your niche isn't a bed and breakfast. Your niche isn't a hotel. And it's not a hotel on a destination. So your destination doesn't make you your niche. You've really got to think about, who is my ideal customer? Who is my perfect customer? Is it the romantic getaway? Is it the multi-generational family? Is it the guys weekend in the mountains? You know, like, define what that is. And it's okay. You're going to have multiple, right? I mean, you know, if you've been on our webinars, that we serve multiple verticals. But within those verticals, we have very specific customers that we're looking at, and that are the ideal customers for us. We turn away about 70% of the inquiries that come into our business because they're not the ideal customer for us. And we know if we stray away from that ideal customer, that the likelihood we'll be successful for them is significantly lower. So we bring it back and we narrow that focus all the time. And the same is true of you in your business. You've got to think about who that ideal customer is and design everything around them. Design your marketing around them. Design your website around them. Write your language around them on your website. Your marketing needs to be centered around them, and your business processes need to be centered around them. So you've really got to think about those things and understand, what can I be the best at? What will make me unique? And how do I be the best at that? And give up trying to be all things to all people. It will absolutely exhaust you, wear you out, and in the end, you won't be as successful as you could be if you were more focused, hyper-focused on what that niche is. And if you need that visual, think back to the koala, and think back to how strange of an animal the koala is, yet how focused they are on doing what they do well, which I think is just sleep and eat. So some days you probably want to be a lot like a koala. Right now I do, with a 6-month-old in the house that's not really sleeping anymore. I kind of feel like I want to be a koala some days, but I have way more information than you needed to know. The third thing that has really been a huge part of our growth is to give and expect nothing in return. And excuse the cheesy stock photo here, but give expecting nothing in return. For us, this is a big part of multiple of our core values that you can see and hopefully you experience through us. If you're on today's webinar, you're experiencing this core value lived out and sharing knowledge. You know, we have been given, we've been bestowed knowledge and an opportunity, and as such have a responsibility to do something with that information. And then there's a lot of ways we try to do this. One, sharing knowledge is a big part of how we do this. Enhancing lives, which is another one of our core values, is a big part of how we do this and something we take very seriously from a corporate responsibility perspective. And if you get our Christmas card, you know a little bit about that. If you don't, then you probably don't, because we don't talk about it a lot. But there's a lot of opportunities to do that. And I'm not like a prosperity gospel thing. That's not what this is about. I'm not the universe spins in a way that, you know, that karma comes your direction. That's not at all what this is about. I think both of those things, to a certain degree, define expecting something in return. I'm talking about giving with expecting nothing in return. We give away free education to over 10,000 people a year, and we're often criticized for that. We're often criticized for the fact that we give away too much information, or that we teach too much, or we share too openly, or I've heard it all from our critics about what we do and how we do it, and the information that we give away, and how we empower people to make a change for themselves. We've had employees that have come in and not understood that, not understood why we do things the way that we do them, and said, hey, I'm spending too much time doing this. I'm spending too much time educating. I can't do this other thing that I need to do. And you know, our comeback to that is, no, we're not spending too much time educating. That's what we're here for first. And to make our customers and those that aren't our customers lives better through the education that we share, giving to them. I was at a conference and had somebody come up and approach me and said, Matt, I've been listening to your webinars for 2 years, and I can't tell you how much they've changed my business and the way I do it. I feel like I should be paying you something. And I just started laughing because honestly, like tons of people register for our webinars. I don't know all of you. I love when you come up and introduce yourself to me at conferences, but I was like, that's exactly, like, I don't want you to feel that way. I'm so glad that we've made such an impact in your business. Like, that's what I want. That's the goal. Like, that's it. It's not about us. It's not about you like doing anything with us or using any of the products that we sell or anything else. It's about us being a resource and helping you grow your business. And if there's an opportunity for us to do business together in the future, if you have a need that we have a solution that solves, we would love to be a part of that consideration. Don't get me wrong. We're in business to make a profit, and we're in business to do business. But that's not at the foundational level what it's about. We're doing enough business. Like, we're doing fine. We want to help other people. And by helping other people, it opens a lot of doors to help more people. And that's, that exists within the education we do, that exists in a lot of the corporate responsibility things that we do. But that's at the core what we're trying to do, give and expecting nothing in return. And as I mentioned kind of at the top of this slide, we are stewards of something bigger than ourselves. As business owners, as you, in whatever role you're in and you're inside your business, you are a steward of something bigger than yourself. And as you connect into that and as you understand that, I think life starts to get a little bit more clear, and things start to make a little bit more sense in the grand scheme, the bigger picture of what you're here to do. And the things that the wisdom that we've been given, the ideas that we've been given, I don't believe are our own. I don't believe that they're ours to hold on to. And we want to educate and steward those resources, that knowledge, that information, everything as best as we can, because it's bigger than ourselves. And we believe we have a responsibility to give that back to the marketplaces that we do business in, and find other ways to give back to the community as well. So I know that probably is a little bit weird as a growth strategy, but I think for us, it's so much about what we think about, what we do. And as I think about our growth, if we didn't give, I don't think we would have grown the way that we have. We didn't give so we would grow. But I think that there is a relationship between the two. And I think that, and I don't know how to put all this together without making it sound weird, but I think that it comes back to being that steward of what you've been given, whether that's a historic property, whether that is a historic inn or hotel that you're running, or whether that is a vacation rental that you're managing for somebody else, or whether that's information that you've been given or come to learn and have an opportunity to share that, whether that's financial resources or that's time or that's whatever. We've been given resources, and I believe we're held accountable for how we steward those things. And in leaning into that, we're a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. So I hope that's helpful for you. I know it's a little bit of a weird one as you think about how do I grow my business. Giving myself away is probably not on the top of your list. It takes a lot of personal sacrifice when you're in an incredible busy place in your own life. Number 4, consistency equals success. You know, you've probably heard me say this on webinars in the past, but I travel and I speak. I often get asked at the end of a session, okay, Matt, that's great. Everything you taught me, I love it. It's awesome. I can't do all that. So like, what's the one thing? Like, what's the one secret to success? And I think that when they ask that question, they're looking for this like rocket science shortcut answer that I wish I had, but to be honest, I don't believe it exists. But the number one secret to success is consistent, focused effort. And I absolutely believe that, and that's been the story for us. It's the consistency that has created the success. You know, I remember those first 5 years and how difficult they were. I remember that first year of focusing into our niche and thinking we're never going to break through. Nobody's ever actually going to sign a contract with us to do anything. But that consistency, staying the course, continuing to refine it, but staying the course has been such an important part of that journey. And when you lack consistency, you lack the ability to succeed. And I believe this is true with so many things. I believe I'm learning how true it is in parenting, but I believe it's true in marketing. I believe it's true in the way we take care of customers. I believe it's true in the way we take care of our guests, that consistency equals success. Consistent quality of product, consistency in our marketing message, consistency in getting that message out, consistency in all of these efforts comes together, culminates in long-term success. But I think we often have to give it longer than you think you should. I remember at multiple points throughout our journey, talking with friends and just saying, I feel like we're at a glass ceiling as a company, and I'm beating my head against the ceiling, struggling, wanting to give up. But if I beat against it enough time, it eventually cracks and it breaks. But I have to beat against that for a long time. And I was at the Global Leadership Summit in Chicago a few weeks ago, and John Maxwell was there talking about leadership, and he was talking about, you know, beating your head against something again and again and again, and that's just stupid. And he had this visual of, you know, his hand beating his other hand. And that's true to a certain extent. So I agree, like doing the same thing over and over and over again and not changing it at all is stupid. But doing the same things and making minor tweaks along the way, and you're learning and you're getting smarter and you're getting more focused, that's what I'm talking about here. Not doing the exact same thing again and again and again with making no changes, but seeking to get to know more, understand more, and get better in that journey, which is part of that core value of ours, get better every day. We want to get better, get smarter as we're along that way, but beat against it longer than you feel like you should have to, and eventually it cracks and breaks. But as part of that, as you're on that journey, this is something we talk to our staff a lot about, and something we've spoken a lot about more in the last 2 years than before. And it came from part of it came from, I mean, it's a common saying, stay humble and stay hungry. But it came from some wisdom a friend of mine shared that was running one of the fastest growing companies in America, still is. And he said, Matt, the Inc. 5000 was actually the worst thing that ever happened to us. And I was like, whoa. And this was when I knew we were on the list for the first time, but it hadn't been announced yet. And I was like, okay, that's scary considering that that's about to be announced in like 2 weeks. Tell me more about that. And he said, what happened to us was we started to believe the things that were being written about us. We started to believe we were special. We started to believe that we would have arrived. We started to believe that we were somebody. And he said, and that's the worst thing that could have happened to us. And I appreciated him being transparent and sharing that wisdom. And that's one of the things that's led me to be very intentional about talking to our team about stay humble, stay hungry. Because the moment that you aren't those two things, somebody else comes along and eats your lunch. And, you know, I think we moved into some marketplaces that had some people that had kind of gotten fat and happy in them. And we were able to come in and make a big splash very quickly. But we never want that to happen to us. We want to constantly get better every day. We want to constantly be improving. We want to constantly be learning, be lifetime learners, and doing better and doing more every single day. That comes from a place of staying humble and staying hungry. That we have never arrived. We're always looking to do things better for our customers. What else can we serve you? How else can we do this? How can we do the same thing we've done for you 100 times, but do it in a different way that leads to better results, or do it in a different way that makes it easier for you to do business with us, or somehow makes your life better and easier. But that comes from a place of staying humble and staying hungry, and knowing that as you execute consistently, you're going to drive success, both for yourself and for your customers and the vendors that you do business with as well, because we all have lots of those relationships that we manage as well. So lots packed into that, probably more than I can really completely cover, but wanted to share that thought with you. And then the fifth thing, be willing to do what others are not. And I think this is one of the most important things. And we've got some different visionaries there on the screen that all have their own stories about being willing to do something that others are not. But this has been such a big part of our journey, is being willing to do what others aren't, to take risks. And this ties back into so many of the other things. What you'll learn is that many of these things are tied together, but being willing to do what others aren't makes you look at things differently. It makes you disrupt a marketplace, finding innovation in the day-to-day. We've done a lot of things that others are not willing to do. We came into the marketplace early on with pay-for-performance pricing, which was relatively unheard of in the marketing space. Not something we're actively doing anymore because of the rise of OTAs and how difficult it is to really calculate it effectively. And there's, other reasons for that, but we started that way. It was a big part of our growth early on because we believed in ourselves and we were willing to bet on ourselves. Our future-proof website platform is an example of doing something that others aren't. I've been personally critiqued and criticized by our competitors for selling stuff too cheap at times, and for giving stuff away that we shouldn't give away. Many of our marketing customers got free websites when they started doing their marketing with us. Obviously, that made a lot of people upset. Now that's changing a little bit as well, as that's getting more and more complex. But our future-proof platform in and of itself was something that had not been done before. The idea of having a platform that we can release updates to and that's constantly getting better, as opposed to the old way of doing business, where you pay a bunch of money up front, they build your website, and 3 years later, it's out of date. Or worse yet, it's actually out of date the day it launches. Most people just don't realize that because it's written on outdated code in the first place. And then your design gets dated very, very quickly. And it's all these problems. So we were willing to actually make less money to do that, but in doing that, deliver a better product. And I taught a whole webinar about just that a few weeks ago that you can listen to and learn more, or email me and I can share that with you, a little bit about just the mindset behind that. But doing more work for less money doesn't sound like a winning strategy to grow your business, but it's being willing to do something others aren't. And let me tell you, we have received a ton of criticism for that. We've received a ton of criticism for disrupting the marketplace. We've received a ton of criticism and slander for our future-proof website platform. And that's all okay. If you're not, I'm sure it's been said by a lot of people. I don't know who said it specifically, but if you're not pissing off your competitors, you're probably not doing things right. And I remember I've learned that lesson multiple ways throughout my entrepreneurial journey. But one of the ways I learned it early on, I used to race four-wheelers. The first company I had was actually an e-commerce company selling four-wheeler parts and accessories. But as a teenager, I was at this place we used to always go and race, and the owner was this guy, probably in his 80s, and he'd wander around kind of the area people take a break in the middle of the day, and he'd talk to the different riders and talk about how things are going. And I remember being there with a friend and feeling like we were doing pretty well. Like we were going fast, we were having fun, we were hitting jumps, things were awesome. And I remember him coming over to us, and he was just making small talk, and he looked at me. He said, "So how are you guys doing?" And we were, "Oh, we're doing awesome. We did this, we hit that, we raced this, we were fast here." And he said, well, have you crashed yet? And immediately my response was, "No, I haven't crashed yet. I'm good. Like, I'm fast. I'm a racer. I haven't crashed yet." And that's what I said. I'm being an arrogant teenager. And I said, no, we're great, man. I haven't crashed yet. And he looked at me with this look of disappointment on his face. And he said, "All that means is you're not riding fast enough." And I was like, whew, like, I thought not crashing meant that I was good. From his perspective, much more seasoned, I'm just not pushing the envelope hard enough. And that, to me, speaks back to innovation. If you're not making mistakes, if you're not expecting to fail, you're not pushing the envelope hard enough. If you're not crashing, you're not trying hard enough. And I think it's easy, especially in today's modern American culture. For those of you that are tuning in America, we are, as a country, have been so blessed for so long. And I think in a lot of ways, we've gotten complacent. And we don't know what it's like to not be in this place that we are, where things are relatively comfortable and we have air conditioning and we have all these things that we need. And that complacency lulls us to sleep. And that complacency means we don't push as hard. Or maybe you're a leader and you're in the industry, in your destination or in the country, and your success has lulled you to sleep. One of the other speakers at the conference I was at a few weeks ago talked about success is the enemy of progress. Because when you get successful, you start looking at trying to maintain as opposed to driving forward in your growth. And I think that is something that's so huge. I was talking to the CEO of an organization, the founder of an organization. He's got about 400 employees. And he said, "Matt, you have to be willing to risk it all to reach the people you haven't reached yet." And I was like, whew, like, am I willing to do that? Like, we have 45 employees. Am I willing to risk it all to be able to create opportunities for more people to have a great place to work? Am I willing to risk it all to reach customers and help them grow their businesses in ways that we haven't done? And I think at the time, the answer was probably no. Like, I'm not willing to risk it all. And I don't mean, that's why I talk about little bets. I'm not saying you should go bet the farm and risk it all on some crazy harebrained idea that you have. That's not at all what I'm saying. But not being so proud of what you've built and so comfortable in what you've built that you stop taking risks. And we encourage and reward people for making little bets in our culture. If you have an idea, that's awesome. Go test it. Go find one of your customers to agree to be a part of a test. Test out that idea for 1, 2, 3 people. If it works, awesome. Let's talk about the data, and then go test it with 5 people. If it still works, let's talk about the idea. Let's keep tweaking it, keep refining it. And if it's still doing awesome, then we can roll it out for everybody. We can make a big bet on it at that point. But make those little bets. Be willing to do what others aren't. And in today's modern competitive world, where there's so much transparency created by the internet, you've got to think about those things in your hospitality business as well. What are you willing to do that others aren't? Are you willing to figure out how to do 4-hour turnarounds on same-day turn days so that you can give people an early check-in? Are you willing to, spend the money investing in a text messaging system so that you can provide a better concierge experience to your guests on a platform they'd rather interact with than coming down to your front desk or coming to your office? Are you willing to spend the money on digital locks so people can arrive at any time and go straight to the property, or straight to check in at any hour? Think about things. I know those are some examples maybe of things you've already done, but what's next? What are customers looking for? What's the next thing you can be doing? There's a great read about kind of on that mindset of delivering happiness from Tony Hsieh, who was one of the early founders, investors in Zappos, and ended up Zappos got bought by Amazon a few years ago. But he talks a lot about that. What are we willing to do as a company to deliver happiness to our customers? And what does that look like? Nordstrom is famous for their customer service, but what are we willing to do that others aren't? What are we willing to do? What risks are we willing to take as a company that our competitors who are fat and happy won't take? What risks are we willing to take? And then inside of your culture, expect and encourage failure. Failure should be something that's rewarded when it's done within the confines of a safe space. Don't bet the farm, but make a little bet and make it in a place where it's safe to fail. If your culture is one where it's not safe to fail, your employees won't take risks. And if they aren't willing to take risks or aren't comfortable taking risks, you will stagnate from a company perspective and you won't grow. So think about that. I'd love to encourage you as a next step from today's webinar. We're not going to do a traditional next step off today's webinar, but as a next step, think about something that you could do in your business that others in your marketplace, your competitors, aren't willing to do. Think about an idea that you've had for the last 6 months, year, 5 years that's percolated in the back of your mind from time to time. And think about what does it look like to actually implement that, execute that idea. And think about the worst case scenario. You know, I talk to other entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs a decent amount as well. And I say, tell me what your worst case scenario is. Like if this idea totally flops, what's your worst case scenario? And if we can get comfortable with our worst case scenario, why wouldn't we go forward? You know, as I talk to especially young entrepreneurs, and it's a lot easier for them, but especially for young entrepreneurs, the worst case scenario is usually sleeping on mom's couch, right? Like this thing totally flops and I'm sleeping on mom's couch for a year. Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe that's your worst case scenario. If that happens, are you okay with that? And if the answer is yes, go for it. Because what's your best case scenario? And figure out what that looks like as well. Chances are you're going to fall somewhere between your best and your worst case scenario. But if as an entrepreneur, as a manager, as a business leader, you can get comfortable with the worst case scenario, why wouldn't you take the risk? Why wouldn't you step out and try it? Get comfortable with that worst case scenario. Do something that others aren't willing to do. And be unique, and the marketplace will reward you for that, and your company will grow. And we're continuing to try to find ways to do this as a company. I know many of our customers are on the call today, so I'd encourage you guys, if there's things that you're thinking about that we can help you with, software we can develop or marketing campaigns we can develop or anything we can do to support you and grow in your business, we'd love to hear about those things too. Some of our best ideas actually come from a mashup of our idea coming together with a customer's idea. Both get made better by each other's input and feedback, and what we end up with is better as a result of that. So that's my step for you. That's my next step for you. That's not something that we're necessarily going to get involved with or help you with, although if you're our customer or there's something that relates to us, we'd love to have a conversation about it. But that's not my point. My point is for you to figure out what that is in your business. Take that idea that's been percolating in the back of your mind and take a next step. Be bold in that. Do something that others aren't willing to do, and see what happens. And figure it out. Figure out how to do it. Figure out what to do. Figure it all out. And you'll be amazed that it'll come together probably more easily than you think. But even if it doesn't, know that you're going to just grind it through. That you're going to just figure it out. And as you get through that journey, you're going to learn a lot in the process of doing that. So lots of information. Hopefully that was helpful for you. I appreciate you guys tuning in for what was a very different webinar from us today. I really hope that something I've shared with you today has sparked something for you. I'd love to hear about that. I'd love for you to drop me an email or shoot me a call and just tell me about that, just to confirm for me that I'm not crazy and didn't just waste a bunch of time and a bunch of your time. But would love to hear about those things for you. If you're on today's webinar, we actually had a couple first-time attendees register for today's webinar. We're glad that you're here as well. Today's very different than what we normally talk about, but if you're inspired by anything we said, we'd love to talk more to you as well and understand if there's some way we can help you grow your business. We'd love to have that conversation. So please get in touch with us about that. And we're excited. Conference season's getting ready to spin back up with the fall and the winter and spring. So we're excited to see many of you out and about at conferences. So please do come say hi. We're going to have another webinar in a couple weeks about websites, how to do that well, some things you need to be thinking about as we head into the shoulder season, the fall season. So definitely tune back in for that. Check that out on our webinar page on our website, same place that you registered for this. We keep that updated with the webinars we have coming on. If today's content was helpful for you, please leave us a review on Facebook or on Google. We'd love to hear about how we've impacted your business and maybe an idea through one of those review platforms that we've sparked in your head. Love to hear that as well. If there's anything we can do as you're trying to grow your business, please do get in touch with us. We'd love to talk to you about that as well and be a part of your growth journey. And I'm happy to take a couple questions. I know no questions except for several comments about koalas have been in the chat panel. So hopefully we have more takeaways from today than just koalas. But if anybody has any questions, I can answer for you. Happy to do that as well. You can use the chat panel to ask those questions. If there aren't any questions, we'll all get back to it, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys on our next webinar. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you again soon.